First there was the Akaso V50. Then came the Akaso V50 Pro. Let me introduce you to the new Akaso V50 Elite 4K action camera, and that's coming right up. Well, it looks like Akaso's come out with a new camera, the V50 Elite. Yes, 4K action camera with electronic image stabilization of 4K and 4K 60 frames per second. I'll put a description below of all the specs on this. Let's take a look at the unboxing experience of the V50 Elite. It comes with a waterproof case that's supposed to be good for 31 meters. And let's take a look at the camera itself because I'm kind of curious of the build quality. Well, there we go, the Elite. Nice looking camera, reminds me of the V50, has a nice 1/4-20 screw on the bottom, which is definitely appreciated. But when you look at all the other specs on it, or as far as its build quality, it reminds me of the original V50. Inside the box, you've got your plethora of all the GoPro assortments, and look at there, a little voice activated remote. And the battery that comes with it is a 1050 mAh battery, and it comes with a dual battery charger, which is nice. Now let's take a look at some of the other things about this camera. On the left hand side, you've got your micro USB port, mini SD card slot, and HDMI port. On the back, you've got your 2-inch IPS screen. On the right-hand side is your menu mode buttons to navigate through the menu system. And the specs on this has a SunPlus V50M Chipset, Sony sensor, which I could not find out which one. It offers 4K 30 frames per second, 4K 60 frames per second, but guess what? There is no electronic image stabilization at 4K 60, but that's okay. It's a pretty inexpensive camera. But like always, let's take a look at the image quality. All right, I'm out here at the park with the new Akaso V50 Elite 4K action camera capable of 4K 30 frames a second with electronic image stabilization, and also 4K 60 frames per second with no electronic image stabilization. And we're just going to handheld walk test this, see how it does, see how the shadows look. Right now I have the white balance set to auto. I might set it to daytime just to see if there is a difference. One thing I do notice on the back of the Akaso, the screen is not that bright. It's a little bit on the tough side to see. You can see the park is all flooded out from all the rain that we've had over the past, gosh, it seems like a month straight now. Now I turn the white balance from auto to sunny, and I can see on the back of the screen everything looks very greenish. I don't know if it's just oversaturated in green or what the deal is, but I think I'm going to go back to just auto. Alright, white balance back to auto. Doesn't look as green as it did before. Now just handheld walking with this. Like I said, shooting in 4K 30 frames per second. You get some image quality here. See how it does in the shadows. From what I can see on the back of the screen, the electronic image stabilization seems to work very, very well. I don't see a lot of shaking on the back of the screen, but then again, I don't know until I stick it into the computer. By the way, I'll do a quick little audio test. Audio tests. You can see the camera's about 2 feet away from me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, you know what I thought I would do is just a quick comparison between the new Akaso V50 Elite against the Akaso V50 Pro, and why not throw in the GoPro Hero 6, since it also boasts 4K 30 electronic image stabilization, and it also does 4K 60, which we'll test here in just a second. Got them all three side by side in my hand. See how the colors look. See how the stabilization is. Really curious to see, will this new Elite, will it hold up to the GoPro Hero 6? If it's as good as it looks on the back of the screen, I may have to compare it to the GoPro Hero 7. Of course, that's going to be the next video. Whoops, almost fell. Alright, now testing out the Akaso V50 Elite 4K 60 frames per second against the GoPro Hero 6 4K at 60. Now, electronic image stabilization is not offered in these resolutions on both cameras, but we're just going to look at image quality, detail, color of the sky. And by the way, just so you can see, this is what the back screen of the Hero 6 looks like, and that's the back screen of the Akaso. Very, very, very dark, hard to see in daylight. Do a little swoosh through the grass, see if there's any artifacts that come up at 60 frames per second. Alright, the Elite and the GoPro Hero 6. Once again, just side by side on these two. Left the V50 Pro out of this part just to see how the image stabilization is. It is as good as the Hero 6, or do I need to compare it to the Hero 7? Time to stick this in the computer and see how it looked. Well, this was just a quick first look at the new Akaso V50 Elite 4K 30 frames per second with electronic image stabilization, or 4K 60 frames per second but no electronic image stabilization. And also, if you do turn on the distortion correction at 4K 30, it turns off the electronic image stabilization. So in the comment section below, tell me what you thought about the Akaso V50 Elite. You think it's worth it? You think it's not? You like the image quality? What about the image stabilization? And remember, if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing today. Also, I'll have some more follow-up, more in-depth review of this Akaso V50 Elite coming up. But until then, I'll see you at the next review. Bye.